For this first one on the unit review, there's actually two different ways you can solve this one. But essentially what you're trying to do is get both sides of the equation to have the same base. So if you look at the first option that I have here, 64 is 4 to the third, and there was already a 2x up there, so we're going to multiply those together. And then 16 is 4 squared. All right. Now, if you looked at those and thought, well, I was going to write 16 as 2 to some power and 64 as 2 to some power, that's the second option. I'll show you that here in a second. But essentially what you have is 4 to the 6x is equal to 4 to the 2x plus 2. Once you get the bases to be the same, because that part of the equation is already equivalent to one another, that means that the exponents are equivalent to one another as well. So you can essentially cancel out the bases and now go ahead and solve for x. So if we subtract 2x from both sides and divide by 4, we end up with x being 1/2. I'll show you how to check this in a second, but I wanted to show you the second option. If you saw 64 and you're going to write it as 2 to the 6th power instead, you can do that and leave the 2x up there. And if you viewed 16 as 2 to the 4th, you can do that. It's going to change what our next step looks like a little bit, but the process is the same. We have the bases to be the same, and now the exponents have to be equal to one another, so we can say that 12x is equal to 4x plus 4. And if you subtract 4x from both sides, we get 8x is equal to 4, and when you divide by 8, you still end up with x being 1/2. So not many of these will work like this, where you can use two different bases and still arrive at the same answer, but I wanted to make sure you knew that no matter which way you went on this one, it would work out. If you want to check your work, I would store 1/2 as a value for x in your calculator. Hopefully this works. So if I want to store a value for x, you type that value first. So 1/2 stored as x. And then all I'm going to do is go back and type in the left side of the equation. So 64 raised to the 2x. And type in the right side of the equation, 16 raised to the x plus 1. And move it so you can see the whole thing. But if you notice, you get 64 on both sides of the equation. So since you got the same output on both sides, then you know you're correct.